Hello everyone and welcome to this Let's Play of Crystalis. I'll be your host, Owen Quillion. I have some bad news. The world ended about 20 years ago. There was a big old war. Everybody blew up. Everybody mutated. You know, I feel like 1997 was actually a point of divergence in several alternate histories. I'm pretty sure something happens in both Shadowrun and Fallout around that time. Anyway, the survivors threw up a big old tower in the sky. It's supposed to oppress evil forever. Sure, that's completely irrelevant and we'll never hear about it ever again. This game is a classic little gem. It's not your Mario, it's not your Zelda, or even your Star Tropics if the NES Classic is anything to go by, but hey. It was made by SNK, who are better known for games like King of Fighters and Metal Slug. I personally remember it because it was literally my first game. My parents bought me, and actually they bought themselves the NES because I was 2. And it actually turns out this game is kind of suitable for toddlers. We'll get to that little vignette in a minute. This here is the only indication that the game is post-apocalyptic for pretty much the entirety of it. You can just immediately forget all this nonsense. And at least it's better than all being there in the manual, like certain other games. Anyway, the first thing that I'm going to comment about on this game is the controls are backwards. I'm going to attempt to enter my name without screwing it up. Attack is not confirmed. I managed not to hit attack. I'm doing so well for myself right now. I'm going to add some ellipses for flair and end. This reminds me of that picture that's been going around lately of a screenshot or a picture, or whatever they called them back then. It wasn't concept art, I think it was actually a capture. I'll put it up on screen. Of a screen from a prototype of the original Legend of Zelda where it was in first person. You selected dungeons instead of having an overworld at that point. It's just a neat little bit of trivia. Anyway, I know this game pretty well. I remember a lot of it from my my childhood. This guy gives you some money, tells you it's from Zebu, and then you talk to him again and he's like, "You must bow before me because I'm the Zebu war." Yeah, it turns out that I'm the village elder. You woke from the cave. We were told you'd be here. You're gonna defeat evil. You're the prophesied hero. Take this sword. Time the sword on screen, please. That's a Zelda joke. I did actually do some... I didn't speedrun the game, but I consulted speedruns so that I might be quicker at pathing through the game and not have to come up with enough chatter to cover everything that happens. Because for one thing, I forgot to equip my sword. It would be fair to say that this game is Legend of Zelda with RPG elements, which that was happening even back in 1990, apparently. You level up, you have to kill 30 things out here, and it's important to level up. It's not like Final Fantasy or something where if you know the game well enough, you actually don't need to grind. You just need to throw yourself against the RNG. You actually do have to grind it out because if you don't, stuff is completely immune to your attacks, and it sucks. This reminds me that for the longest time, "Hi, I'm Zebu. Please go fix the windmill." That's basically what he just told me. For the longest time, I thought this was like a butterfly pattern, just of whenever you have your sword charge like this. I'm pretty sure that actually what they're going for is 2 diagonal rings circling around you, like sort of like you'd see in one of those stylized Atom pictures. And I guess I didn't know that without the benefit of knowing a little bit about graphical design, or I suppose that's really just sort of a pop culture osmosis thing. And our first duty is to wake up the guy who is asleep on the job. And because the only way to use items in this game, sorry about that, is to use the attack button. So you wind up stabbing him, just like we're going to go in here and literally stab the key into the windmill. And that was a mistake, because boom! This is why we don't have renewable energy yet, folks. It's just too dangerous. Anyway, we are going to cut out some footage. We're not going to... Actually, I'm just going to fast forward through it, I think. Because I'm going to go in and out of this door and stab this poor little lunchbox-shaped blob over and over again until I'm level 2. And level achieved. I called that guy a lunchbox. Like, I'm pretty sure these are kind of like those blobs from the original Legend of Zelda, that I believe they are most common on level 3. But I always call it clouds, especially because they were black, like Nimbus clouds. And, for some reason, I always thought these looked like a picnic basket or a lunchbox. In fact, the only thing in this game that I'm sure it is what I thought it was when I was a young kid is these Tigermen. They are so obviously anthropomorphic tigers, they cannot possibly be anything else. You might think they're bears, but you would be wrong. They clearly are striped. Zebu is kind enough not to make you have to go back to him to pick up Refresh. And hopefully I won't be needing Refresh too much during this first thing. It's the best spell in the game just because it heals you. Speaking of enemy sprites, these little guys... The most important thing about these little guys is that if you don't get to level 2, your attacks do not hurt them at all. They just make a little tink noise and don't do any damage. And that is why you must level up their level thresholds. And that's why it's suitable for toddlers, because the same is true of you. If your numbers are high enough, attacks will just tink off of you and do no damage. So my mother would just level me up to 4, level herself up to 4 or 5. And I would... She'd give me the controller and I'd run around and stab tiger dudes just over and over. It explains a lot about where I am in life today, I believe. Anyway. These pink guys like to poison you, so I'm keeping my distance. These guys, I would have sworn up and down that they were dragons. That they had arms and legs and were scary. They are actually seahorse-looking snakes with wings. They're actually incredibly lame. I guess Chinese dragons are technically just snakes with wings, but the 8-bit depiction does not do any justice to that concept, so I call these butt-face golems because their face looks kind of like a butt. I understand that that may be a little difficult to follow the lingual roots of. Maybe a little out of left field there. Anyway. I'm almost level 3, which I'm pretty sure that's actually completely irrelevant. There's nothing that's really a threshold for level 3, other than level 4, which is a very important one. More butt-face golems. But being level 3 doesn't hurt. Actually, it may be very important to be level 3, because you may not be able to hurt the boss. I don't think I've ever not been level 3. This is one of the core mechanics of the game. You collect a power-up for your sword that lets you charge up to level 2, and you use it to blow up walls. That is the rough extent of the puzzle solving in this game. Equip the right weapon. I picked up 3 items. The warp boots let you teleport to a town you've been to, as is very common in these sorts of games. The medical herb will restore my health, which is sort of useful for when I run out of MP, which is inevitable. And the antidote removes poison, which would be great if I were dumb enough to get poisoned by these pink things. We're going to sit here in suspense, waiting for me to get poisoned. And I almost always charge up just because it's more convenient to shoot, especially since you can a lot of times get 2 dudes with them, and you risk getting hit less. But a lot of times it's actually more efficient to stab, probably, especially on enemies that don't just suddenly move and you can kind of predict where they're going. Most enemies in this game move too slowly to be a real threat. Anyway. We are almost to the boss, folks. We are going to test our metal. Yeah, there's a lot of walking in this game, sometimes without any enemies. Hello. This is supposed to be a vampire, which I don't see. I guess, like, there's a hood thing going on at the top there, but I always thought of it as a witch for some reason. Like, she has a really long face and she's holding her hands up, which I guess the vampire is doing too. Anyway. But I think it actually looks more like a tiki mask, or a it's not moai either. Like some kind of voodoo or tiki mask type thing going on. The item I just got is the rabbit boots, and it is customary to jump around like a moron right after you get them, and then... I hardly ever use them because there are a few places they're absolutely mandatory. We are going to go and collect something before we go to the next town. And the only indicator that this exists is the guy says, I dropped something near the river, and the river takes up the vast majority of space around here. And this is where it is, just in a pile of grass. You can't consult GameFAQs. GameFAQs isn't going to be around for another 7 years or so, you know, when the world is ended according to this game. You're left on your own to figure that out by your lonesome. Credit and many thanks to Overclocked Remix and Neostorm, the user responsible for the remix of the Crystalis field theme you heard during the grinding segment of this video. The name of that song is House Leaves, and I've enjoyed it many times since it was first uploaded way back in 2002. And as always, thank you for watching.